here. Y'all here, that's how you say it in the South. Y'all.
Y'all did, yep.
Well, I'm from the far north. Canada, you heard of Canada? Everybody's heard of Canada? I know we have some Canadians here, yes. So, my laptop has some notes on it. So bear with me just a minute. How does it go? I know it goes. There we go. Is that okay? Can you see me okay?
Yeah.
Everybody hear me all right? Okay, so isn't that a great picture? I love it. Love that picture. I love pictures of true parents because it shows real love, true love. And that's what it's all about, isn't it?
Yes.
So this morning, I'd like to talk a little bit about something called opportunity. And you know, in the song we sang this morning, the story, basically, the essence was, don't give up. God can be there. And that's what I'd like to suggest this morning, that if we don't give up, then we can bring victory. Right? So in the matching preparation workshops that my wife and I have been presenting on and off, mostly on for the last 2 or 3 years, one of the key things that I talk about is unity, learning to listen, and never giving up. So the song this morning was a terrific introduction, actually, to the message that I would like to offer to everyone today. So I hope this is of some value for you. So what we're seeking in our lives is true love, isn't it? That's what we're looking for. That's what true parents have brought to this earth, is true love. So they've given us the opportunity to find true love and to become better people. So here's Father's definition of true love. It does not refer to the selfish love that is strewn about in the secular world. It is not the counterfeit love given one moment and abandoned the next. It's not self-indulgent, profligate love driven by fleshly desire. Such false love assails and violates the conscience, driving nails into the original mind. True love, on the other hand, is the source of peace and spiritual order. Its nature is to honor and preserve the public tranquility. It is humanity's shared inheritance that serves the common benefit of all people. It symbolizes God's intention and power, for it is rooted in God. 2004, True Parents, and the true love and true marriage. So I also would like to suggest another introduction to something called real love. Unconditionally caring about the happiness of another person without any thought for what we might get for ourselves. Doesn't that sound like Father? Doesn't it sound like the definition for true love? This is the definition of something called real love by a guy called Dr. Gregory Bear, and some of you are familiar with Greg Bear. And the reason that I talk about him often is because he has some really practical, basic steps to practice true love. You know, the true love that our Father teaches, sometimes he doesn't give us, you know, he says, overcome the challenges, you know, work through them, persevere, and you'll be victorious. But Dr. Greg Bear also has some fundamental steps that we can take to help us to evaluate and go step by step, move forward as we grow in true love. So I like to introduce some of his books when I share with people. So real love. So in our matching preparation workshops, the 3 things that I ask people to recall at the end of the day, by the end of the seminar or the workshop, is these 3 things. Unite, listen, persevere, in other words, never give up. And this morning I'd like to suggest one more thing, something called opportunity. So every challenge that we face can be an opportunity. Opportunity is a set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. A set of circumstances that makes it possible to do something. And I'd like to suggest that every challenge can be an opportunity. So we can be really negative or resentful or angry or frustrated when we face a challenge. Or we can think, here's my opportunity to grow my heart. Here's an opportunity for us to become a better family, for me to become a better husband or wife or son or daughter or grandparent. Here's an opportunity if I can face this challenge. And one of the challenges that we're facing right now is the Peace Starts With Me rally. I don't know how many people are, yeah. How many of you are planning to go to New Jersey? I don't want to be judgmental or anything, but yeah, at least one, that's good. 2, it looks like. 4, yeah, good. You know, my wife and I were in New York City a couple weeks ago. We were, we're doing this tour. So on this tour are 10 stops, 10 cities. And the last one was scheduled to be Minneapolis on the weekend of Mother's appearance in Nassau, when Mother comes to America. So we happened to go for lunch with Dr. Kim. And if you know Dr. Kim, he is one mind. He is one mind. He is so focused. And anyway, so we were having lunch, and he knows we're touring. So I was explaining we're going to be in Minneapolis that weekend, and he said, "Oh, you must come." So later, I guess, the staff meeting the next day, he really admonished us because we weren't planning to be at the workshop at Mother's speech. So in the meantime, the workshop in Minneapolis is canceled because their new building, they're building a brand new building, originally scheduled to be completed by the end of October. But if you know construction, and I said to Pastor Hall, I said months ago, I said, do you think it'll be done on time? You really think so? Anyway, oh yeah, it is. Anyway, yeah, it's a little bit delayed. So anyway, so that workshop is canceled. And of course, Dr. Kim didn't know that. At that time, we were pretty aware that it was likely not going to happen, but maybe we'd do something. Anyway, in the meantime, because he gave us such a hard time in the staff meeting the next day when we weren't even there, Kay Allen came to me and said, "Look, we have some air miles, and we would like to fly you back to New York so that you can be there for the Peace Starts With Me rally with True Mother." We were so grateful. So anyway, so I emailed Dr. Kim and I said, "Yeah, we'll be there." So his response was, "Thank you." So anyway, the Peace Starts With Me rally is really significant, right? Because as I understand it, this is the very first time we have invited Mother to come to America, or True Parents to come to America for a specific rally of this kind. So it's really significant, and it must be successful. And if you've heard Reverend Dunkley, he says, we're not worried about filling the stadium. We'll fill the stadium. We'll be successful at the event, but what we're concerned about is after the rally. What do we do after the rally? For those of us that have been in the movement for a while, Father said, you have to go out and do home church. Remember those days back when we did home church, and we were only supposed to do 200, 300, 360. Now it's up to 430, basically the same thing, right? The blessing of couples. So, whatever we do, whatever we can offer, not all of us are going to bless 430 couples, right? Some will, some won't. But any effort we make is an opportunity, first of all, for us to grow our hearts, to grow our spirits, to become better people. Isn't that the purpose of our physical life?
Yes.
To grow our spirit.
Yes.
And can we grow if we just, slide through day after day after day and don't do anything, just play video games or, whatever the game of the day is? If we face a challenge and we can overcome the challenge, if we can bring victory, then we can grow our hearts, we can grow our spirits, we can become better people. So that's why I'd like to suggest that opportunity, even the Peace Starts With Me rally, and anything we face in our lives, and every challenge we face can be considered an opportunity. So the first important point that I suggest yesterday and would like to just expand a little bit on today, because I think it's really important in bringing victory for us here on this earth. First of all is unity. So what do I mean by unity? Unity between husband and wife is really important. Now, when Father matched and blessed the first generation, he didn't say, you guys look like you're going to get along okay, so I'm going to bless you. Go and be happy, right? He picked the greatest enemies and put us together, enemy with enemy, so that we could overcome the challenge. And some of us have been successful to some degree. Some of us continue to really, really struggle. I'm sure we all continue to struggle, but sometimes we've been able to bring some level of unity. But even today, there are a lot of couples who struggle a lot. And the key thing to me is not that we're all of a sudden going to be automatically united as husband and wife. I'm not sure if God expects that. I suppose he's hoping for it. But the reality is we're dealing with a real challenge. A real challenge. We've got enemy nations and we're trying to bring peace. So when we struggle in our relationship between husband and wife, it's not just me and my wife, or you and your spouse that are struggling. You're working to overcome God's broken heart. When Adam and Eve fell away, they separated from God. They broke the relationship between husband and wife. Broke God's heart. And then all of the children born since then were born with original sin. We can't imagine how painful, how much God suffered, how his heart ached because his children left. So when we struggle to overcome our challenge, to bring some kind of unity, that's not just my struggle, and not just my ancestors' struggle. This is also God's struggle. So if we can have even a small breakthrough in our relationship, especially between husband and wife, then we can offer that to heaven, and to some degree we can comfort God's aching heart. God has suffered so much we can't even imagine. So unity between husband and wife is so important. And through unity, God can work. Right? The principle teaches us that if husband and wife, or man and woman, or brother and brother, if we can unite together, God can be present. I would like to suggest if we can't do that, I think God really, really struggles. So, in your relationship with your spouse, it's not going to just get fixed overnight. Not. Keep working at it, but bring some kind of level of unity that will allow God to be there. And of course, when we talk about the matching process, we're trying to prepare a foundation for matching our sons and daughters. So we really want to lead them to the blessing. So the relationship between husband and wife is integral. It's really important. But not just in matching our sons and daughters, but in our lives. And in all of human history, the more we can unite, the more we can touch God's heart and bring maybe a little bit of joy where he's really, really suffered for so long. So some of the things that we can do to unite are, maybe go on a date, do some kind of activity together. And I sometimes like to suggest, even if you and your spouse really struggle and you have a hard time even talking to each other, go on a date, but, bring your cell phone, sit in the coffee shop or wherever you are, play on your cell phone for the first date, maybe. Say good morning, good night, or thank you. Say something. The next date, you have to talk a little more. And the next date after that, a little bit more. So little by little, build some kind of a relationship. And if you think about doing that for a bigger purpose than just me, or my spouse, or my couple, then maybe God can be there, and God can help you, and your able spirit work can help as well. So figure out some kind of activity that you can do together. And then the love languages. This is something that's really important. There's a really, really famous story of a young blessed couple. They're blessed for a year, and so on the first anniversary of their blessing, the young man just really adored his wife. He really wanted to show her his love. So he went out and bought this huge bouquet of flowers. The biggest bouquet he could find, cost him $170. So his wife, of course, was happy on SDF and, sold flowers, dead or alive, sometimes dead, right, for those days, hundreds. So on the morning of their anniversary, he brings his wife this big bouquet of flowers, big bouquet. He was so happy because he knew his wife would just be ecstatic. And she looked at him and she said, "Oh, pretty flowers. How much did they cost?" Wasn't quite what he expected. He was expecting, maybe a hug or a kiss or a thank you or something. But he didn't realize that his wife's love language was not receiving gifts or receiving flowers, but actually it was quality time. So he could have saved himself a lot of money and just took her for a walk in the park or bought her a cup of coffee, because time together is how she receives love. So the 5 love languages, if you don't know your spouse's love language, I really encourage you to Google 5 love languages, 5 of them, and find out what your spouse's love language is and how you can best give her or him your love. And that way, hopefully, he or she will be able to receive your love more fully and more completely. So that to me, that really helped in my relationship with my wife when I found out my wife's love language. And I'm not even going to tell you what it is. Anyway, that's something that I suggest can be really helpful in any relationship that you have, but especially the intimate ones, husband and wife especially. So one thing that's important too is to pray for each other. In our prayers, of course, we really want to take care of God's son or daughter, right? Isn't our spouse God's son? God's daughter? Wow. You're blessed to God's daughter, God's son. Wow. Put it into that context. It's really awesome, isn't it? Amazing. And it's really true. And one other thing that can be really helpful in building a relationship is to pray together. Now, I don't mean, "Dear God, make my wife a better cook." Or, "Dear Heavenly Parent, I pray that my husband can get the raise so he can bring more money home and we can buy more clothes." That's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is, "Heavenly Parent, please allow me to see the beauty of your daughter and my beautiful wife." Or, "I know that my husband is your son. I pray that I can really love him as you love him." That kind of prayer. If we can pray together, then that can really help to build our relationship as husband and wife. And here's something that is, I found this a few weeks ago on the internet, whatever. Dr. Phil said. So if Dr. Phil said, it must be true, right?
Yes.
Couples that pray together have a 1 in 10,000 divorce rate. Well, he was quoting a guy called David McLaughlin, who had done some research and had written a book called The Role of the Husband in the Family. And according to research, supposedly, couples that pray together have a 1 in 10,000 divorce rate. Wow. Huh, that means we pray together, we'll never be divorced, right? No, we're all too stubborn to divorce anyway. But the key thing is not, is this number accurate? But think about, even if it's 1 in 100, that's a tremendous advantage. And in this survey, one of the things that they discovered was a Christian, and of course this is a survey of Christians, right, in America. They found that Christians who pray together constitute 7%. Only 7% of Christian couples pray together. 7%. So from now on, we'll all pray together, right? And build our relationships. So anyway, that's one more tool that I think really can be helpful. And if you want to Google Dr. Phil or David McLaughlin is the guy that supposedly did this research, so check it out. So unity between husband and wife is really key. And on that foundation, we can build unity within our family. If we have a harmonious, loving relationship as a couple, then our children are going to see and want to emulate that. And for us to build that unity within the family, there are activities that we can do together as a family, like go on a camping trip, or of course pray together as children. And I found out when we were trying to match our children in their profile or somewhere they had written, one of them or two of them had written, they really enjoyed these family trips that we went on. So by this time we were living in Western Canada. We had 5 little kids, like starting about here, like so. And we had one of these new Dodge minivans, the really tiny ones? The really, really little ones when they first came out. So 7 people in this little Dodge minivan. We drove from Western Canada to Minnesota, where my wife grew up, her family lived, and packed the kids in this van with sleeping bags, and we couldn't afford a hotel or anything like that. So of course we're camping. Camping is really quite exciting. To me, when you go camping, it should be at the Holiday Inn, or the little white van out here. I can do that. That's camping. That's fine. That's where my wife and I live while we're on the road. So that's okay. But this was, pack a tent. So we packed the tent, and you're driving. You've driven all day. You're kind of tired. The kids are hungry, irritated, frustrated. They're ready, to get out and run or whatever. So now comes time to look for a campground, and of course the first 2 or 3 campgrounds you stop are full. You can't pitch a tent, or anyway, so you keep going. Now it's getting dark, starting to rain by this time. And of course the kids are now fighting. I know your kids never fight, but ours did. They do pretty good now, but anyway, back then. So you're driving along, and finally you find a campground. It's a beautiful campground, and you get out in the rain, pitch the tent. Of course, you always pitch it on sticks and stones because it's dark now, you can't see, right? So you lay out your sleeping bag and your air mattresses, and the air mattress goes flat, and you know the drill, right? Of course, there's mosquitoes, and then you're finally snuggled in your sleeping bag, and the train goes by. Anyway, that's camping, right? It's really exciting. But those kinds of events, I discovered, our children really enjoyed. Go figure. Still can't figure it out, but there it is. But, when a family goes through various struggles together, it helps to bring them together as a unit, as a family. So struggles can be okay depending upon how we handle them. So, one really important point in building a family and in building a relationship is learning to listen. So you'll notice on the point here it says listen. Listening is really, really important, isn't it? In any relationship, it's so important that we learn to listen. So, of course, in the matching process, I talk about how parents need to learn to listen to their sons and daughters. And, of course, our sons and daughters need to learn to listen to mom and dad. So, listening is just really, really important. And it's a learned skill, but it also, if you're able to listen to a person, it builds trust. It's a foundation for love, because you really cannot give your heart to a person that you cannot trust. You can't trust your spouse. You really can't completely open your heart and give your heart completely and totally to them. So trust is so, so important. And one of the key ways to build trust is to learn to listen. It really helps the other person to feel loved. And one of the things that my wife tried to teach me for many years was that sometimes women just like to talk. They just need to share. It's not a like, it's a need. They really need to talk about where they're at, what they're doing, how is their day. They just need to talk. And they don't need us guys to fix their problems. Maybe there is a problem that we can help them fix if they ask, right, ladies? But sometimes they just need to talk. They just need to talk. So husbands, I challenge you to become better listeners. Just don't talk. Just listen. One time one of our brothers came to me. He had really struggled in his relationship with his wife, a new wife. They were blessed a little later in life. Maybe they were 60 years old or something like that, both of them. So he came to me and he said, I really, really struggle with her. He said, she just talks and talks and talks and talks, and I just don't have time to listen to all this stuff. I'm not interested. It's just so difficult. And I said, this was not me speaking, this was God speaking, because I learned a lot. I said, well, my dear brother, what would you be doing that's more important you're not listening to your wife. I learned a lot from that. Because frankly, what is there that's more important? If we're building a relationship, we really need to be there for the other person. And especially husbands, we need to be there for our wives when they really need to share with us. So that's a really important thing, to learn to listen, and just listen. Just listen, just listen. It also helps to build respect, because if you're able to listen to another person, and not just husband or wife, not just parent and child, but in work, in school, wherever, whatever part of life you're in, listening is a key skill that can really help to build relationships, to build trust. Experiment, try it out, check it out, and see what you mean. So it's a learned skill, and on the bfm.familyfed.org website, there are some recordings from our brother Bento Wheel. And he's also written a book on listening. It's called 4 Essential Keys to Effective Communication. You can buy it on Amazon. So if you want to learn a little bit more about how to listen, Bento has some really key suggestions. So there's the book, 4 Essential Keys to Effective Communication. And also, if you go to the BFM website, it is available there. You can find the link, or go to Amazon. So the third important point, so now, we're now trying to build some level of unity, husband, wife, or any relationship that you have. We're learning to listen, that's the second point. The third one is perseverance. Never give up. So if you're practicing for the band, or you're practicing to run a race in the Olympics, or to compete on any level, you don't just jump in and perform and you get a gold medal, right? For the Olympics, you have to practice for years and years and years, right? And it's painful. Your muscles ache, your joints ache, your lungs ache. You can't get enough oxygen. You just push yourself, push and push and push. And then you go to the Olympics and you run for 5 minutes and you're done. So our lives are kind of like that. Our lives go by pretty quickly. Some of us old-timers can testify to that. So it's really important that we persevere, that we never give up. And if we can persevere, then God can work. God really, really can work. One thing I learned, and I have to constantly remind myself too, is that Satan gives up at the last minute. Satan, when I'm ready to give up, I discovered Satan also is ready to quit, ready to give up. And my one example that I'd like to share with you is, Jacob at the ford of Jabbok in the Bible. Jacob was supposed to wrestle the angel. Right? Well, the angel is this really big, tough being, not a person, I guess, but and Jacob was just a scrawny little guy like me. Well, I'm not scrawny anymore. I used to be scrawny. Anyway, Jacob was just a little guy. And there was no way he could physically beat the angel in a match. There's no way. But he didn't give up. Even though his hip got broken, the angel broke his hip, he never gave up. He must have been in excruciating pain, but he never gave up. So according to the Bible and the story, the angel had to leave at sunrise, right? Is that true? The angel had to leave when the sun came up. And so the angel left. And who won? Jacob, because he never gave up. He was still there, ready to fight. So our lives are kind of like that. When we're ready to give up, we're just possibly on the verge of victory. So I would like to suggest that the opportunity, the challenge that you face can bring you great victory if you never, never, never give up. Then, yeah, next one. So 4 points to remember. Unite. Through unity, we can become the source of true love. Imagine that. We can become the source of true love. That's pretty powerful. That's really amazing. Think about that. Through unity, we can become the source of true love. Learning to listen is kind of like learning to love. Because through listening, you can demonstrate your love for another person. and then persevering. Never, never, never give up. If you give up, you lose, right? So in the matching process, it's no different. In our lives, it's no different. If we keep at it, don't give up, then eventually we will bring a victory. And every challenge can be an opportunity to grow our heart, to grow our spirit, to become a better person. Every challenge can be an opportunity. So I'd like to suggest that this peace starts with me. Whoop, I went too far. Here. I'll have to set slide out or something. Anyway, peace starts with me. You know, the victory of our lives begins with me. The kingdom of heaven doesn't come when somebody else does it. It comes when I do it. So I need to take responsibility. Each one of us needs to take responsibility. And as our mother travels the world talking about love and how to give and how to build a world of peace, what is she talking about? The theme is peace starts with me. Peace starts with me. So in your relationship with husband and wife, your relationship with your co-workers, with your children, with your parents, in every relationship, which is the key thing in our lives, peace starts with me. The ideal starts with me. So I would really like to encourage you to consider that whenever you feel challenged, whenever you feel, I just can't do this. Persevere. And don't give up. And try one more time and keep trying until you really, really win, until you really bring at least some level of victory. And remember, bringing a victory doesn't mean that all of a sudden everything is perfect, right? You know, we've inherited hundreds of years, thousands of generations of fallen human history. Everything is not going to be fixed in one generation. Everything is not going to be restored in 1 or 2 or 3 generations. I don't know how many it'll take, but we have a lot of work to do. So every little thing, every little victory that we can bring can be an offering and a contribution to heaven, to God's ideal. So, thank you very much. Please join me in prayer. Our loving and precious Heavenly Parent, we are so grateful that we can be here with you today, that we can live our lives with our true parents, that we can be your sons and daughters. Heavenly Parent, if we lived at the time of Jesus, if our ancestor were one of the disciples of Jesus, we would be so proud. But here we are, with our true parents on this earth who have fulfilled and accomplished and established the true family. Here we are as part of the family of the Messiah, of the true parents. We are so grateful. And I pray that we can really understand the depth of your love for me, for each of us, as your sons and daughters. We are all your children. And yet we have all made mistakes. We have all committed sin. And yet you still love us, absolutely and unconditionally. Throughout all of the eons of pain, you never give up on us. And I pray that we will never ever give up on you or each other, but that we can love unconditionally. Heavenly Parent, thank you so much for your love. Thank you for your blessings, and thank you for this chance to share together today. I pray that each of us can feel your love today and going forward for the rest of our lives, knowing that we are your children. Thank you so much for our precious true parents. We pray for our mother as she prepares to come to America. We can really love her and embrace her, and she can really feel our love and our gratitude. Thank you for this day and this chance to share together. And I report all of this in the names of brothers and sisters here today, in the name of John and Helen. Abel sets a blessing for family.